As you can see, the topic of this video is the Panzerkampfwagen VII. I chose this tank for my first episode of Fake Tanks, as it is a tank which I mistakenly called completely made up in one of my update videos. I'd like to rectify that by doing this video. So, we'll start with in-game look and description of the tank. As you can see, this is a super heavy tank with a rear-mounted gun similar to that of the tank that precedes it, the VK-452B, and a turret similar to that of the Lova. So, what does Wargaming say in the description of this tank? A super heavy tank with rear placement of a turret developed by the Krupp company in 1942. Project was discontinued in favor of more heavy tanks. No vehicles were ever manufactured. Wargaming's horrible fragmentary sentences aside, this is pretty much the same as my layman's description of the tank, barring the sentence about the development. And that sentence about the development happens to be the only thing that we've actually learned here, that according to Wargaming, the tank was developed by Krupp in 1942. We already knew the rest just by looking at the tank. Now, since the description failed to yield much, we'll have to go to other in-game sources to find facts to compare with later. Of course, what I'm referring to are the modules outfitted on the tank. So according to this tab, the tank has a 1200 horsepower Maybach 517 engine, power-to-weight ratio of 10 horsepower per ton, giving us a calculated weight of 120 tons. The tank's gun is specified as a 12.8 centimeter KWK 46L61. The armor is said to be 231 plus on the front and 120 to 160 millimeters on the side. Next, we'll look at what sources can be found on the Panzerkampfwagen VII to check the game version. Finding sources for the facts on this tank were a bit difficult. The main two sources I used for this video were the Tank Encyclopedia and OctongPanzer.com, as they were pretty much the only detailed articles I could find on this tank. There were some speculative pictures of certain documents pertaining to what might have been this tank, but it's hard to say. Wargaming with this tank has pretty much destroyed any actual facts there may be by obscuring the sites that actually have real facts with a million other sites that are talking about the tank within the game instead of the actual tank. So, only really two sources. There will be others in the description that I used as well to kind of figure out what was the summarization of all of this information. And basically, I will be presenting here the summary of the information that I found. The summary is that there was a call from the German Army Contracting Division in late 1941 for German weapons manufacturers to make a tank with 140 millimeters of frontal armor, 100 millimeters of side armor, with a 1,000 horsepower boat engine to propel it. The weight specifications of this prototype were originally to be 70 tons, hence the name VK70.01. Usually that is how people refer to this tank. However, by the end of 1941, the maximum weight was increased to 90 tons. In early 1942, the designs from multiple weapons companies were produced to the German government. As far as I found, the only surviving designs concern what Krupp contributed. Unfortunately, here sources differ on what Krupp presented and what the arms manufacturer was ordered to build once they presented their pieces. What I can confirm is that the production version is what was referred to as Lova. There is a list of specifications on the sites that are held in common as what Krupp was planning to build. These specifications are as follows: a Maybach HL230 engine producing 800 horsepower, either an 8.8 centimeter L71, 10.5 centimeter L70, a 15 centimeter L37, or a 15 centimeter L40 for armament. Between 70 and 90 tons for weight, and between 100 and 140 millimeters of frontal armor. Lastly, there is no consensus on whether the turret was supposed to be middle, rear, or front. There have been multiple sources differing on this. So, there are also some unconfirmed things that I could tell you about that are even less confirmed than the things that I just told you about, which are fairly unconfirmed. Usually, when people refer to the Lova, they refer to either a leaked version or a Schwer version, and historically speaking, these are not real. The leaked version is supposed to be frontal or middle turreted Lova that has a 100 millimeters of frontal armor, the 800 horsepower engine, and a 10.5 L70 for armament. And that one is supposed to be 70 tons in weight. And the reason why 70 tons is cited usually as the weight for the Lova is because the 70-ton mark is the highest, or 72 tons is the highest that the German army's trains could carry. So it would have been helpful if the tank could be carried by train, and that would make its specification for weight 72 tons, the same as, I think, the Tiger II or the Tiger I. In any regard, the Schwer version is supposed to have been 90 tons with a 15 centimeter L37 or L40 for main armament, and once again with the 800 horsepower engine and 140 millimeters of armor. So basically, they're just the two extremes of the specifications that I've just given you. There was no actual specifications, no documents that referred to either Schwer or leaked the light or heavy version of a low at all. Basically, it's just made up bullshit on the internet. Most of what happens with the Lova on the internet is made up bullshit, which is what made this video a little bit hard to research. So, in conclusion, these things do not match up with the in-game stats that we found earlier. Panzerkampfwagen VII, well, clearly looking like some of the renditions that you can find on Achtung Panzer or Tank Encyclopedia. The real-life prototypes do not have these specifications if there were real-life prototypes. Firstly, the main armament of the tank is 12.8 centimeters, which is not even listed as a possibility by anything that I could find. The engine is 400 horsepower higher than the specified 800 horsepower that is the only thing that these sites agree on. Stranger still, the weight has been increased by 30 tons from the highest mark of weight, and the highest mark of weight, the 90 tons for the Lova, is also semi-unconfirmed. It's probably the least confirmed of the things that I would call quote-unquote facts in the summary that I gave you. So, the armor is 100 millimeters thicker on the front, and the armor is 50 millimeters thicker on the side. And basically, the Panzerkampfwagen VII is not the VK 70.01, and it is, in all honesty, fake. Biggest question here is why in the living hell did World Tanks make this tank? There already is a Lova in the game, and adding another version of a Lova in the game is not only confusing, but is perplexing, considering that the version of the Lova that is given in the game, I would say, follows the standards of that these sources provide. It has the 10.5, it has 100 millimeters on the, sorry, it has 140 millimeters on the front now, It has the 10.5 millimeter centimeter cannon, and it has the 800 horsepower engine. So it actually matches up to what most sources agree on. So why did World of Tanks add a tank that does not make any sense? I have no idea. We'll never know, but for certain, this is a fake tank. Thank you for watching my first World of Tanks fake tanks video. Very much appreciate those of you who get this far. I hope that we all understand that the point of this is not to destroy wargaming's creation, but rather to correct wargaming and hopefully get them to understand some of their bullshit is kind of dumb. And on top of that, make it so that we can more easily find facts about the tanks rather than fiction. I really think one of the biggest points of this series, in my opinion, is that once we make a bunch of videos, hopefully, if they ever get popular, people will actually know what the facts are about the tank rather than, if you look up the Lova or you look up the Panzerkampfwagen VII or you look up the VK70.01, it's all World Tanks bullcrap. And I really want to change that. So, there we are.